Good afternoon. All right, so the board elected to all sit here in the front row so they could see the slides a little bit better. We're going to go through the proposed 2018 budget. That'll be the operating budget and the capital budget. And we'll talk about proposed fee changes and quite a bit of information. It's an 80-slide presentation, so if you fall asleep, I'll totally understand and I won't take it personal at all. But we'll try and move through it. And here, let's get started. Okay, so there's a lot of information. If you can hold your questions towards the end, I'd really appreciate it. I have a feeling that as I go through this, I'll probably answer a lot of your questions as we move along. Okay, accountability. Year to date, I don't know if many people know this, but we're having a tremendous year right now. And we are, POA and water combined, we are better than budget by $1.8 million. And I would say the single most reason why we're doing well is the word accountability. In previous years, the department heads did not write their budget. They now write their budget. Last year they wrote their budget. This year they wrote their budget for 18, and they're being held accountable. And that's very important. And so every small decision becomes a much better decision when your feet are held to the fire. At this time, we have 13 out of 15 departments are at or near budget for the year. The two that are missing, the one is F&B, and that's because we opened Lake Point a month late and the Country Club 6 months late. And the other one is golf because we had the floods and we elected to close Highlands for a couple months. In going through the budget, you'll notice that on the top of each of them, they have the respective name of the person that's in charge of it. Just making sure that we're fully accountable. So this is a proposed budget. The board will look at this and consider this at November 16th and make a vote at that time. So everything I may say, I may phrase things in such a way that it sounds like we're absolutely going to do it, but it's all proposed until the board votes on it. Okay, in going through the budget for 18, you'll notice there's been a number of changes in comparison to 17. Aside from Birksdale, and we'll be closed for 2 months at Dogwood as we do the bunkers. Aside from that, we want to have uninterrupted golf for 18. So no major shutdowns. We're not going to shut down like we did with Highlands in 18. Lake Point and the Highlands Pub will be open for 12 months, and the Country Club will be open for 11 months. So we'll have a full year of operation and a partial year. The beach at Lake Avalon will open in the spring. If you haven't been by Lake Avalon, take a look. The hut is already up, and the basic outline of the beach is already created. Branchwood, we are proposing a major renovation and expansion to start in the first quarter. The water utility will replace every single meter in 2018. And the capital budget remains robust as we continue to rejuvenate the POA. In 2018 will be the third year in our effort to rejuvenate our outdated, aging infrastructure. We've been fortunate in that we had a lot of money in reserve. But as we've gone through and done these renovations, the reserves have steadily reduced. And by the end of 18, we will be very low. Now, what I'm not included in there is that we always will have an emergency reserve of $1.2 million for the POA and $500,000 for water. So when I say that we're almost, we're going down to zero, I've not included that $1.2 million. I kind of take that out of my head and put it to the side. Those are the emergency funds that you never want to touch. As we go through into at the end of 18, we will be very low on reserves. So what does that mean? If we want to continue on with the same efforts, and if we want to go into 19, you don't have to write it down. It's going to be posted on the website tomorrow. We'll have to consider an assessment increase. We haven't had one since '01, and we are tentatively planning for a campaign in the middle of this year, in the middle of the coming year, okay? And what we're also looking at doing is forming a commission that will look at what our needs are, look at what additional work needs to be done, and then from there determine what we are proposing for the increase to be in 18. So we wanted to tell you well in advance. We don't want to surprise you. You know, I think most people, I've been talking to a number of people and they know it's coming. And so we want to be honest, and it is. Okay. Anytime you look at your financials and you have your financials in front of you and you want to compare things, okay, so let's give you a little bit of a background. If you look on the first page of your financials and on the middle, on the bottom of your financials, you see page 1 and so forth. Trailing 12, okay, so what we've done is we want to always compare actuals, all right? So, but we don't have a full year of actuals in 17 because 17's not over with, okay? So what we did was we looked at a couple months in 16, and that gives us 12 continuous months of actuals, all right? So that's why it's called the trailing 12, and it's basically, you know, majority of it is made up of 2017. And then we're comparing that to 18. Now, an easy way to compare is when you look at same store, meaning everything has remained the same. Unfortunately for us, nothing has remained the same. We've had a lot of changes and a lot of interesting transactions have occurred this year that makes same store comparison rather challenging. Okay, so if you've been over to Metfield, you've seen that we have a new skills park. The Walton Family Foundation paid for that. They paid $170,000. It's on POA property. To get it on the POA books, it's recognized as revenue. It's not cash, but it's still revenue. That was in 17. It's not going to be in 18. So if you compare 17 to 18, you automatically have to take out $170,000 because it's not real money. Okay. We also had $174,000 from a one-time payment from a large multi-lot owner. We don't anticipate that's going to happen again. We'd love it to happen again, but we don't anticipate that. We're also going to be much more conservative with our investments, meaning we've had a very good year with our investments, but we can't necessarily anticipate that we're going to have another bang-up year. We anticipate that we're going to have an average year, plus the number of investments are going to reduce. As we spend those funds, it's going to reduce. So that is going to negatively impact our revenue by $272,000. Also, we've taken a conservative approach on lot sales. Okay, now we didn't make them zero, but we just looked at a several-year period and made an average out of them. Even though 17 was a banner year, we don't necessarily know what's going to, what the future holds for us. So we've gone conservative. Also, in 2017, we had a $93,000 rebate back from Carroll Electric, and those only occur every 18 months, so we won't get one in 2018. So all these, that's a lot of money that I just referenced, and that's going to, if you're looking at your comparison, it's going to sway that comparison. Another thing that is very interesting is in 17, we ran throughout the entire year between 20 and 25 unfilled positions the entire year. They weren't planned. The lowest labor and lowest unemployment in the nation is Northwest Arkansas, and we struggled to fill spots. So that saved us several $100,000, but in the budget for 18, we're assuming that all those positions will be full. All right, now we've added some additional services. The golf committee asked that we add player assistants or play managers, which we have done, and also the Lakes Committee asked for more lake rangers to enforce boating policies. So we've included those. We've added some additional staff to our maintenance and construction. with all the construction that is going on in Northwest Arkansas, when we go to contractors with small jobs, they do one of two things. They either say, we're not interested, or they come back with a price that's unbelievably high. And we've had that consistently, because small jobs are not interested when there's so much construction. So what we're proposing in here is to add 4 additional staff members so we can do it in-house. What that does do is it raises the labor and raises the expenses, because when you add those people, well, they're going to spend more time, more supplies, they're going to have more hammers and tools and more of everything. So you don't just get the employee wages, you get everything. They do more jobs, they use more paint, they use more lumber. But in the long run, when we do the job in-house, we actually save money compared to when we farm it out. Last year, we had a one-time refund from our liability insurance of $54,000. Thank you very much, Dwayne. Did a research that went back 5 years, and it was productive. Also, you're going to notice that our labor is way up. Well, we're going from a partial year with Lake Point being open to Lake Point being open all year, the pub at Highlands being open all year, and the country club being open at least 11 months, so that the labor is going to go up by quite a large amount. So, needless to say, trying to do a same store comparison from year to year, not easy. A lot of adjustments. All right, so now let's look at the POA budget. We're going to look at the operating budget, and as we go along, last year what I did, I gave everybody the operating budget, and then I gave you the capital budget. What I've done is I've done it by department this year. All right, so if you don't know where you're on your packet, we're on page 1. All right, so in your packet, it's 3 pages long, and I didn't want to throw it up there. But what I did, so I just narrowed it down to total income, cost of sales, labor and expenses. So the far left column, the trailing 12, that's the actual. So you see that that all comes down to the EBITDA line. EBITDA is earnings before taxes, depreciation, and allocations. Net income. Next column over, what I did was I made all those adjustments. That $170,000 for the skills park, the unfilled positions, I made some of those adjustments. That's not an accounting, it's not accounting. This is me just adjusting those numbers to try and make it so you can do a same store comparison. And then you have the budget. So quite a bit different. So let's get into the detail, and you'll see what is driving a lot of these changes. All right, we're going to start off with golf. I failed to mention that we have all our department heads over here. So I'm going to do the presentation, but if anybody stumps me on any question, we got them over here. And Daryl here is, Daryl, please raise your hand. Daryl is representing our golf division. Philip couldn't make it. He had a family issue that he had to attend to. And Daryl has a basketball game. His son has a very important playoff basketball game to attend to. So he has to go first, and once I'm done with him, he's getting out of here. So if you have a question about golf, ask fast. Okay, so aside from, we talked about this already, aside from Burksdale and Dogwood, no major closures. We're going to have several fee changes for the coming year, and that's going to be in the next slide. Revenue will increase by, we're estimating $223,000, and that's going to be slightly from the fee change, but the most of it is going to be because of increased revenue, because we're not going to have Highlands closed, we're not going to have, we hope we won't have another flood, and so forth. Play managers will impact, it's going to cost us money. The golf committee asked for play managers. No problem adding those, but it's an expense. Okay. And for the budget, we made the assumption that Burksdale would have only 9 holes open for the entire year. Until we get the H&H study, the hydrology and the hydraulic study, which will come out at the end of this year, we don't know what direction it's going to go. So we went with 9 holes for the entire year. Is that what's going to happen? I don't know. I haven't seen the H&H study. but we felt that that was a conservative way of going. All right, proposed fee changes. AGGF members, primary monthly will move from $1,860 to $1,920. That's a $60 increase. The monthly on that is $160. We pick nice round numbers. All these AGGF increases range between 3% and 4%. And we didn't have an increase last year. Next one, the primary annual will go to $1,800. Secondary monthly will go to $1,400. Secondary annual will go to $1,400. Those last two were $50 increases. The annual private cart lease increase will be $20, and for the secondary passenger will be $10. No increase for seat leases, just for private carts. 18-hole green fees will go up by $2, and all other 9-hole twilight will go up by $1. Special rates, all those things. The only thing we aren't going to touch is junior rates. We're not going to touch those at all. And the handicap fee will increase from $5.50 to $6. All right, so there's the P&L. And so you'll see on the top there, and I don't want to go into too much detail here, but you'll see the net income on the top goes from $4,818,000 to $5,041,000. That's the $223,000 increase. You'll see that food and beverage will increase in their cost of sales. And notice how we have the F&B pulled out separately so that we can track and see how we're doing specifically. Okay, so I already got this question earlier from an unknown person as to how are we doing the F&B. Okay, so I do things based upon reporting lines. You could do things based upon subject. All food goes to food, but I do it based upon reporting lines. So at Scottsdale is a golf operation. The people behind the counter at Scottsdale are the ones that take your green fee and give you your burger and give you your dog. It's a golf operation. Okay? At Metfield, it's a golf operation. Now, does Tommy help out? Absolutely, because he's got a tremendous amount of knowledge. But ultimately, who is the day-to-day person that takes care of that operation? Golf. So the money goes to golf, because that's the reporting line. What do we start this presentation with? One word: accountability. Okay? That's why we do it. Lake Point is different. Okay? That's a wholly separate operation. That reports to Tommy. Highlands is the only kind of mixed bag. If you go in to the pro shop and you buy a candy bar from the pro shop, that money's going to go to the pro shop. But if you go into the pub and get a beer, that's going to go to food and beverage. But once again, it's along the reporting lines. Accountability is the key. Accountable, I want to be able to hold these people accountable. I don't want to go into Scottsdale and go, Philip or Daryl, what happened to our cost of sales here? Oh, well, you know, even though my guy is serving it, it's really Tommy's number. No. I want to go to Daryl and I say, what's going on? Why is the cost of sales high? Last month at Scottsdale, we made $7,100 in revenue in food and beverage alone. And that's on an average ticket of less than $10. That's good. That's really good. You smile. This is really good. All right, there's the expenses. Any questions so we can get Daryl out of here? Get out of here. Only one capital project for them is they need a carry-all, and that is for Highlands for the driving range. All right, golf maintenance. Keith, raise your hand, please. All right, so Keith is here. Aside from Birchdale and aside from the the 2 months in the winter at Dogwood for the bunkers, no major closures. Are you happy about no major closures in this coming year? Yes. Good answer. He pretty much answers all questions that way. Bunkers at, we're going to do the bunkers at Dogwood, same Billy bunker system. You guys like that stuff that we've been doing, all these bunkers, improvements? All right. Labor will increase as we anticipate that all positions will be filled. When I spoke earlier about those 20 to 25 positions that were unfilled most of the year, a lot of them were his. Just struggling to get people in, just struggling. Significant expense increase for the coming year as we continue increase the amount of fertilizer and chemical to improve the quality, turf quality. Since Keith has been here, the turf quality, the golf experience has steadily improved, and we want to continue with that. Another thing that we've added is we're going to do more maintenance along the highway. That is our front door, our curb appeal, and the state only maintains that 3 times a year, and you get weeds up to that high. We're going to maintain it. We feel it's going to make a much better curb appeal. There's the budget. We talked about the payroll increase and the expense increase, and so you'll see the EBITDA will change to the tune of $216,000. So we can do more. We can do more. We can add, fertilize more and put more chemicals down, which will improve the golf quality. Costs us more money. Okay? Costs us more. All right, quite a number of capital projects for this department. So a lot of these trucks at the top, the 2 trucks at the top, are replacement. So the irrigation tech for Golf Central and the field maintenance services truck, those both need to be replaced. A lot of our trucks, they get up to about 200,000 miles, and then we need to get rid of them. And while they're with us, we beat the heck out. I mean, not that we mistreat them, but we use them a lot. I mean, the hard miles. It's not like highway miles. That's hard miles. Parking lot repair at Golf Central. That parking lot is in pretty bad shape, and we have equipment going over it, and you don't want those reels bouncing and everything. 7-gang unit for Scottsdale, wash station and chemical storage. Those are all federally mandated, those 2. When you see wash station and you see chemical storage, those are mandates. We don't really have any choice when it comes to those 2. Bunker renovations, that's the big one in there, the $299,000. Another chemical storage, greens roller for Metfield, another equipment wash station, low water crossing at number 2. How many times have we had a smaller amount of rain in Pea Ridge and we have to close 9 holes at the country club because of number 2? We're going to put it, we think we came up with a solution that will be able to fix that problem. And at Highlands, okay, this is a big one. All right. So we've done a lot of work this past year, I'm sorry. We did the bunkers, we did the cart pass, we did the collars, but what did we not do? We didn't touch the greens and we didn't touch the fairways, okay? And those still need work, but we want to have a long-range plan. So what we are proposing on this budget is to spend $31,800 and bring out a professional architect that will look at everything that needs to be done and plan it out over a multi-year period, okay, to go in and to get that golf course to the next level. So when we talked about that we don't want to have any closures this year, it's possible that in 19 or 20 we may have closures based upon this analysis, okay? Didn't want to, even that $31,000, you guys may have looked over it, but it's a big one, future big one. And more chemical storage, chemical wash, and chemical storage and wash station. Okay. All right, moving on to food and beverage. Tommy, raise your hand, please. Okay, so when you try and do your same store comparison with food and beverage, you just don't even try. It's just not going to work. Okay, so I've stated this a couple times. Lake Point and the Highlands Pub will operate for 12 straight months, and the Country Club for 11 months. Tommy is looking forward to a year without construction. Look at that. He's happy. Okay, but let's give you an idea of some revenue. Lake Point, $936,000 is what we anticipate for the coming year. The Country Club, $756,000. This compares to when we met with Nick as he was leaving. He informed us that he made, on average, about $600,000 in revenue. Gave us a little bit of a basis to help us create this budget. And Highlands Pub, about 105. Highlands Pub is really a service. It's not an overly profitable profit center. All that prepackaged stuff that we sell, cost is very high. You know, it's a service for our customers. Okay, so when you go through the financials on those two, you'll see a big negative number. Oh, it's a big negative number. Well, we got to keep in mind that the plan, per plan, we've always looked at a break even at the end of year 2 or at the end of year 3 when we would get to break even, okay? Now, keep in mind that we haven't even hit a full year at Lake Point yet, so we got a little ways to go. All right, so there's the P&L. That's what you have in your hand. And the only thing he's getting, after a couple of years of spending a whole bunch of money in food and beverage, the only thing he's getting in the coming year is a $25,000 used utility vehicle. All right, clubhouses. All right, clubhouses, pretty boring department, but that's how we track utilities for each department, for each clubhouse, and insurance and everything else that goes into just the clubhouse. Revenue expenses are remaining relatively the same. The two capital projects, this is the first time you're going to see it, but we're going to try and go through and knock off almost every single parking lot. Not everyone, but a large number of them. Our parking lots are in bad shape. Ever try to find any lines at Metfield, parking lines? You can't find them. I mean, so, and when you've let that parking lot go without any maintenance, you're going to lose that parking lot long term. It's going to cost you more long term. You know, it's the old pay me now or pay me later. Okay, I'd rather maintain that parking lot at a fraction of the cost than having to rip the whole thing out and redo it. Okay. All right. So this is one that we need to do an overlay because we let it go too long. But we're going to do an overlay. And we're going to do lighting at Metfield. The lighting is insufficient, especially if you're going to go over there and use the workout facility and try and get back to your car and feel safe about it. And we're going to do some patio improvements in the eating area so you can go outside and eat outside and carry your drink with you. All right. So that P&L is fairly flat. And there's the three capital projects I just mentioned. All right, now we're going to go on to MAC, Maintenance and Construction. And Mike is on vacation 2 days with his wife. They had booked this 6 months ago, and then I sprung this meeting on him, and so we gave him a pass on this meeting. So there's no one over there to raise their hand for MAC. I mentioned this earlier. With all the construction going on in the Northwest Arkansas, we've had trouble filling positions or getting people to bid on jobs. And when they are bidding on jobs, they are bidding really high dollar amounts. We've seen some asphalt and some concrete bids that are just, are you guys crazy? This is unbelievable. 2 or 3 years ago, we would have gotten it for half the price. So we're going to try and do more projects in-house, and that's going to increase, result in 4 additional staff members. Expenses have gone up also because as we add those additional staff members, we got to transport them, we got to give them tools, and once they're there, they're going to use more supplies, more paint, more lumber, more everything. Also in 17, and I mentioned this earlier, we had a one-time $54,000 liability insurance rebate. And that's not going to show up in 18. I wish it would, but it won't. Okay, so there's your P&L. So this one's changed quite a bit, 401. Okay, that's a large change to the negative, but if we want to maintain these things, we gotta hire these people on. We can't just let these projects get go by the wayside. The other challenging thing is when you don't have enough people, it takes forever for the project to get done, and then the board starts giving me the evil eye. Why isn't this project done? Why is it taking so long? Well, we can't get it done because we don't have enough manpower. All right, so here's the cap budget. Crew cab, pickup truck, duct cleaning machine, so we can keep our HVAC units operating healthy and well. AC replacement for Metfield, and AC replacement for the lobby. So we did that work. We did the interior, but we didn't replace. We did that work 2.5 years ago, but we didn't replace the AC units. Okay, we just did the internal work. Those are getting ready to go, and they need to be replaced. And we need another 4x4. These are all replacements, I think. Is the last one a replacement, Dwayne? Is the last truck a replacement? Okay, I wasn't sure. I think one of those is not a replacement. All right, so if you lost track, we're on page 9. All right, lakes. Where is Ricky? Ricky, raise your hand. Thank you. All right, we are proposing an increase in the number of lake rangers from May until September to help enforce water sports policies. Our aquaculture program will get underway in earnest in 2018, and if you would like to learn more about our aquaculture program, I'm sure Rick would love to bore you to death. I didn't say that, did I? A few proposed fee increases, that'll be on the next slide. Expenses will be up. We will go in and repair, crack fill, seal, and restripe the RV parking lot. Huge parking lot, so that's $75,000. Anybody been in the RV parking lot? You've been able to find any lines out there lately? Can't find them. Key capital projects, addition of 16 cover slips at the marina at Loch Lomond. We have a waiting list of 19, so we're adding 16. We figured some of the 19 will drop off, and our budget is estimated that we'll be filled at 75%. I have a feeling we'll be at 100, but I'd rather be conservative in our budgeting. And we're also going to add a 4th trap field, and this is being funded through the lead reclamation. We got that money 4 years ago, 5 years ago? Several years ago, we put it in as reserve, and we earmarked it specifically for that area, for the shooting range. So it's going to cost us money, but it's actually, on the budget, it's going to cost us money, but from a cash point of view, it'll be neutral, because we're going to use that lead. They go out and they collect all the lead from the expended shells and everything, and they recycle it, which is a good thing, and then we got money. Okay, but we made a promise to the sportsmen that we would spend the money at that location. So we're doing it. And it's the additional field will be to the right if you've been out there. All right, couple of fee increases. Lake Windsor slip fee will increase from $325 to $350. Lakeshore mooring will increase from $135 to $150. Canoe storage rack will decrease, because we're trying to spur demand, from $67 to $60. The marina boat rental fees will be, I didn't want to list them all because they have all these hourly rates, they're all over the place. So if you go rent a boat at the marina and Loch Lomond and expect a 4 to 10% increase depending upon how long you rent it. And that's a leased out operation. We don't operate, hook, line, and sinker runs that. All right, there's the P&L, and that EBITDA is different by $116,000. All right, here's the capital. $32,000 for the trap field, replacement truck for $35,000, a Ranger boat replacement for $30,000, the 16 slips. Now, Rick went through, when we looked at the 16 slips, not only did we look at the 19 people that are on the waiting list, but he also figured out if at 75% utilization, he calculated that the ROI was 3.8 years or 3.9 years? Approximately 3.64. Yes.
On the fees, I didn't see no mention of boat registration fees. They're going to remain constant?
If it's not covered, you know the answer. Answer your question? So if we skipped over it, then it's not there. We're not doing it. We have so many fees. I mean, our fee schedule is, I didn't want to put every single one up and show no increase, no increase, no increase. So I just only put the ones that are increases. Another Ranger, a Ranger boat bay, and a trash pump. Trash pump evidently is a pump that can pump just about anything. You can put it in a bunch of junk and it'll not bog down. Is that correct? I didn't know that 2 months ago. General manager, this is my department. Labor went down when we first brought on Tommy as the business development manager. He went under this department, and once Lake Point opened, we transferred his salary over to there. Expenses will go up. We talked about the assessment increase, okay? When we do those votes, it costs us money, and of course, someone will probably knock on our door and sue us. We've accounted for all that in the budget. Hopefully it won't happen. Yeah. All right, and there's the budget. All right, HR, Cindy. Okay. Cindy's labor increased with the addition of a part-time health and safety coordinator. We have a lot of employees, they use a lot of tools, they do a lot of things that could be hazardous, so we have a person dedicated to making sure that our employees are safe. That employee started several months ago, so it's actually partially in the trailing 12. While medical insurance expense is allocated to all departments, HR is in charge of the administration of medical insurance. Keep in mind that we are self-insured with stop-loss coverage. Stop-loss is if we hit $60,000 on a claim, 65, 75. Is it going to go any higher? Okay, 75. So we will cover that expense all the way up to 75. Once it hits 75, then our insurance kicks in. We went through and we made major changes to our insurance, and I wanted to show you this. 2015, $1.2 million. 2016, $1.2 million. Changes kicked in, $946,000. This is when you smile. Again, this is really good. This is really good. Now, we're estimating that it's going to be flat for the coming year because we're going to change to a renewal period of November 1 so we can get better budgeting numbers, so the plan year will be only 10 months instead of 12 months, and so that's why it's going to be flat. Otherwise, I would anticipate that it would go up at least 4 or 5 or 6%. But so we're changing the plan years so we can get better information for 2018. For 2019, we're changing the plan years. If you want more information, call me afterwards. All right, so pretty flat, $17,000 change, and by and large you can attribute that to the addition of the safety person, but that's another one of those pay me now or pay me later. If you keep your employees safe, it's going to cost you less on the long run. All right, if you've lost track, we're on page 12. Okay, marketing. Kim, there we go. There's our marketing guru. The POA is in the midst of an in-house website redesign, which should launch towards the end of the year, first of the next year. It's going to be a lot easier to search through. We anticipate a $21,000 increase in our advertising revenue on Inside Bella Vista and Connections. They've done a tremendous job in steadily improving those magazines. They're more informative and they're more profitable. Expenses will decrease as we can allocate more expenses to the respective departments. So this is how the expenses work. If Tommy goes to marketing and asks them to run a magazine in a bridal magazine that is specifically trying to drive business to Lake Point, Tommy pays for it. But if it's a general overall ad for Bella Vista, or if it's a website, then marketing covers it. We don't get into this allocation game, well, 20% should go there and 30, forget that stuff. But if we can specifically put our finger, if it's a golf ad, anybody see those golf billboards that we did on Walton Boulevard? Well, golf specific, that's a golf ad, golf pays for it. But if it's general, then it goes into marketing. All right. So that's the EBITDA on that is pretty static. All right, legal. There's Doug. So in 2017, when he brought in $174,000 in the claim, his nickname became the Golden Boy. But of course, now that we're moving into 18, it's what have you done for me lately? All right, so his revenue is actually going down by $224,000. The trailing 12, we received the one-time payment, $170,000. Also, while the sales of POA lots in 17 have been outstanding, and they've done a fantastic job, we've taken more conservative approach in 18 and decreased it by $42,000. The low-hanging fruit is gone, okay? It's gone. You may have received a letter in 17. If there was a POA lot owned, if a POA owned lot was right next to you, you probably would have received an email or a letter, something like, hey, why don't you buy this lot and pay us more assessments? Well, we sold all those. We sold as many as we could. We don't think we're going to sell any more. If we had any flat lots, we had a lot of developers bought those. The low-hanging fruit's gone. So $42,000 decrease in revenue is probably wise. We plan to have one less judicial sale. This will reduce the number of lots taken into inventory. Lots taken into inventory from a judicial sale have to be placed on the books, and they're placed on the books at a value, but it's not cash. Okay, so it negatively impacts the P&L, but it's not cash. Okay, but you got to get them on the books at a value. But when we do those judicial sales and we take on those properties, we have to pay property taxes. So we only want to bring on ones that make sense for the POA. All right, so Golden Boy is going way down because his EBITDA is being impacted by $250,000. What are you going to do? Doug has had a fantastic year, and we're all proud of him. All right, accounting. There we go. We got Dwayne here. All right, so accounting had to increase staff. As we ramped up operations at Lake Point, Highlands Bar, the Country Club, we had to add 1 full-time and 2 part-time. Also, a lot of these people are working on collections. We always consistently have to beat the bush to get slow payers to pay. You got, I mean, and you got to do it every single month. You got to beat that bush every single month. There's some people that are just very slow to pay, and you got to beat the bush every single month. And they've done a fantastic job in reducing the amount of unpaid assessments, but you got to constantly do it. And so when when you look at the payroll for accounting, you're going, oh my God, look at the payroll increase for accounting. But they're the ones that beat the bush and get those slow payers to pay. Because we have a philosophy that every single person should pay their assessment. If you and I pay our assessments, everybody should. But not everybody views it that way. All right. Expenses will increase as we have additional employees, because we're going to have to get computers. They're going to use more pens and paper and all that stuff. They have more medical insurance. When you add staff, you get all the additional things that come with it. All right, so there's the P&L. All right, Carmen and Roxy, raise your hands. All right, we have member services here. All right, member services will open a small third location at the new Welcome Center at the Country Club. Okay, so at the Country Club, we get a tremendous number of people that come in that are interested in buying, that have questions, they're lost, they need help. We get them all the time. They come in. The Country Club is the closest to the highway. They just naturally come in here. So we're going to have a mini membership services there. We won't be able to do everything that you can do at Huntley and Medfield, but we're going to do a lot of what you can do there. And membership services, they know a lot. They get, how many calls did you field so far this year? 30,000. How many emails? 18,000. And probably half of those have nothing to do with the POA, correct? So they have to know about the city, they have to know about the ACC, so they are very knowledgeable. So those people make the most sense to have them work at a Welcome Center, because they're the most knowledgeable, because probably half the questions from the people that walk through the door will have nothing to do with the POA. But we still want to provide those people with great customer service, and we want to help them out and send them in the right direction. I do good, Carmen? All right. All right, so that's going to impact our labor. And we had some other adjustments to expenses, as you can go through and see that. So it's not all labor. And also, we have a negative to revenue on the top there. In 16, we used to do the billing for the city for the waste removal, and the POA made some money doing that. Otherwise, why else would we do it? And then when that was transferred over, and we no longer do that billing, we no longer have that revenue. So that's the revenue she used to receive. So in the trailing 12, she's got a little bit of revenue from the tail end of 16 in the trailing 12. All right, if you lost your way, we're on page 16. All right, Jack, raise your hand. All right, he's our IT guru. Half the time he talks to me, I have no idea what he's saying. All right, so overall expenses will increase by $39,000 with the addition of software licenses with added users and an increase in support contracts. The sole project, the capital project we have for the coming year is our budgeting and financial reporting software. It is no longer being supported. It is, how old? End of life. Oh, 2 years ago. Lovely. So that's going to cost us $51,000. You got to do it. It costs you money, but you got to do it. And it probably should have done it 2 years ago. Other than that, expenses are relatively flat from year to year. Jack did ask for an additional staff member, and he got the unfortunate no from me, but chances are in 19 he's going to get a yes, or else he's going to beat me up. All right, so there's the Prospero. All right, general income. All right, this is where your assessments go and so forth. It's kind of a catch-all also. We anticipate that revenue will decrease by $271,000. We talked about the investments. As our reserves go down, the the amount that we have in investments will decrease. Plus, we're taking a more conservative approach because we can't anticipate what the market's going to do in the coming year. We're also taking a conservative approach on property transfers, so we've reduced that by $25,000. We think it's going to go down. We don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it's just as, your guess is just as good as mine. Last year, 2016, new home starts for the city was 98,000, and this year it's 155, and we're not even done with a year. So we may be wrong. I hope we're wrong, and we'll continue to go up because every home, every piece of property that goes from unimproved to improved increases their assessments and hopefully increases the amount of money we make when they play golf and go fishing and go to Lake Point for dinner. Every other year we receive a rebate from Carroll Electric. We receive $93,000. Mixed in all that, we do anticipate that our assessments will increase by $112,000 as accounting converts more people to improve status, gets them to pay, perform to pay, and also we have more properties that are going from unimproved to improved status. So mixed in, you can't see it when you look on the top line, but we are anticipating that assessments are going to increase. And there you go. Page 18. All right, recreation. Joan is at a conference, so we have Dean here. Raise your hand. There we go. Dean, you normally at this time of year is found up at Branchwood, but during the summertime when the pools are open, he's found everywhere. In the coming year, the beach at Lake Alphalon will open. This will impact our operations with revenue, labor, and expenses. We're anticipating a major renovation at Branchwood, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Revenues will decrease by $153,000 because we talked about this earlier. We have $170,000 in there in revenue that is from the skills park, which is not cash, but you have to recognize it to get it on the books. So there's $170,000. If you do the delta between those two, you'll see that our revenue will increase by $17,000. We have a few fee increases. Those will be next. And we have some non-capital but major expenditures. We have fitness equipment upgrade for Branchwood. If we're going to do a renovation at Branchwood, we need some additional equipment. We're going to have to purchase beach equipment, kayaks, paddle boards, volleyball equipment, all that stuff, and a major refit of all the picnic tables at Blowing Springs. They're in bad shape, they're old, they need to be changed out. All right, so here are the changes, only these changes. Here are the changes, 25 cents more for your daily use. If you're going to, the outdoor pools will go up by 25 cents, and Branchwood indoor pool for non-members will go up by 25 cents. Okay? All other plans will remain the same. All right, so there's the P&L. All right, so I broke this initially into two parts, but it's essentially $998,000 for the expansion and the renovation of the interior at Branchwood. And I'm going to cover that in the very next slide, and they even have a board up here. The audio-visual system here needs to be upgraded. Okay, next one, $45,000. At some point in the near future, this old relic of a building needs to be renovated, okay? And so we're looking at spending $45,000 to develop plans on what the future would hold for Reardon, New Reardon. I'm sure we'll come up with a better name than that, but for right now, for New Reardon. So in the coming year, we're going to spend that money to start planning for the future. What's one of the big jobs for the board? Are they supposed to be looking straight down, or are they supposed to be looking 4 or 5 years down the road? That's what a good board does. All right. Convert 28 spaces at the Blowing Springs RV Park. The lower section that has all the amenities, all the utilities, we book that consistently. The upper section that has fewer utilities for RVs, not as much so. We want to offer the same service for all. Joan always loves to point this out, that the RV park is one of the few profit-making operations that we have. And this will allow us to service more customers and make more money. You make sure I put in a plug for her there. Okay, the pool deck at Metfield is in horrible shape. We almost did not get our license to open this year because our deck is in such disrepair. New fencing for pool, bathhouse for the pool, all those things need to be done. That long overdue. Playground equipment, we need to upgrade the playground equipment at Metfield. All that stuff is 25 to 30 years old. It's seen better days. New tennis courts. This is 4 courts. It's the post tension that holds it all together. And we need to replace one of the bridges at Blowing Springs for $16,000. That is rotting out. If you go into the park, it's on the right-hand side. All right, so I'm going to talk about Branchwood renovation. So this is the next major renovation that we are looking to undertake. We will completely renovate the lobby, completely overhaul the restrooms. We will take it to the studs. Both of those bathrooms are in very bad shape. You get a lot of moisture because of the pool. You get chlorine in there. You know, those walls were not they weren't properly insulated because when they expanded it years ago, they expanded under the eaves. We have to leave the water running every single winter on cold nights, or else the pipes will freeze, and still they freeze sometimes. The building needs a lot of work. In addition to that, we need an additional workout facility because right now we are offering silver and fit and silver sneaker classes downstairs in the racquetball court, which is not even close to being ADA compliant. And it's one of the largest or highest used facilities. We are anticipating construction will take 18 to 20 weeks. We are tentatively looking at start in the first part of 18. So I show this to the Branchwood staff today. They give me a little bit of a groan on how long we're going to have to be closed for, but you can't make progress without a little bit of pain. So we got to close for a little while. So here's the plan. I'm not going to go into too much detail. Afterwards, I'm willing to stand right in front of that next board and I'll give you all the info. But what you see is, if this is the entryway here, the entire lobby area is going to be renovated. A couple walls moved, not too much work, but definitely new flooring, new ceiling, all that stuff needs to be redone. This is where the workout equipment currently is located. We would move that into the expanded area. This would be where we would do aerobics, silver and fit, and so forth. We'll have a storage room here because when you do the silver and fit and silver sneakers, you have to have a chair to balance and so forth. And so we always need a lot of storage area. Here are the 2 bathrooms. The ladies' bathroom, one of the toilettes is not in compliance with ADA, so it's going to have to be moved over by a little bit. But for those bathrooms, we need to go to the studs. It is that bad. And then an expansion out back. This is about 40 to 50% larger than this area here. At one point, we were looking at expanding this way, but we realized that we were going to spend a whole bunch of money on a corridor. Let's just have it go out the other way and get 100% of the square footage. So it is a major undertaking, and if you want any additional information, please corner me after the presentation. I'll spend as much time as you want. And on top of that, on November 15th, next Wednesday, we're going to do a tour. So we'll come on up to Branchwood. We'll have these plans out. You can ask more questions, and we'll give you a little tour and point and show you what some of the things that we're doing. These tours are proven to be very successful. We did a lot of tours with Tommy at Lake Point. We had as many at sometimes as 200 people. That's too high. 150, 200, 150 people maybe? At the country club last month, we had 70 people. So there's a tour at the country club next Tuesday at 4 o'clock, and then on Wednesday at Branchwood. So we encourage you to come out, see what's going on. People love to walk around in the sawdust of construction and see what's going on. It's fun. All right, the water utility. There he is, Aquaman. All right. So Charlie, we're going to talk about the water utility. So if you're not with us, we're on page 19. Chris, we're not going to show the video because I think we're running kind of long, but we'll have that available on the website. Okay. For the water utility, we're taking a conservative budgeting approach to new home construction and our investments. As a result, we anticipate that overall revenue will decrease. Water usage is going up as more homes are being built, but because we were taking a conservative approach on our investments, it's actually making us look like we're losing money, but if you look into the detail, we're actually doing better. Labor will increase as we anticipate that all open positions will be full. We talked about this earlier in the budget. You got to assume that every position is going to be full. We hope they're going to be full. As I said earlier, we really struggled this year. You just went just about anywhere in Bentonville or Rogers, you saw now hiring signs just about everywhere. Okay, expenses will go down by $390,000. Okay, so in there we had, in the trailing 12, we had $200,000 for the University of Arkansas AC pipe study. That was where we went in and looked at our piping to see. We had some concerns a couple years ago about how long these pipes were going to last. We found out that they only have about 100 years left on them. Okay, so right around the corner. Also, unfortunately, with the major capital expenditure that's coming, we decided to not do a rebate, a $20 rebate this year. That $20 rebate last year cost $265,000. But with us using those funds, we decided not to. We are proposing, hold on to your hats, a $3.6 million overhaul of our meter system. And I'm going to go into detail on that. We are proposing a modest increase of 81 cents per month to your water bill once all the meters have been installed, and this is a pass-through fee. I'm going to go into that. All right, so the fee change. Once all the meters have been installed, and it'll take about 6 months to install all of them, so you're probably looking at about a mid-year-ish, something like that. It'll be 81 cents per meter per month. And this is a pass-through. This is our direct cost. It's a communication. It's a cell. This is going to, I'm going to go into more detail, but this is a cell charge. These will be cell phone. That's how they're going to communicate. And so we're going to get charged, so we're going to just transfer that expense over. Charlie did a very good job of negotiating that down from 89 cents. So we tried our best to reduce the pain. No other change in water rates. Our water rates have not changed since 2010. Don't know if you're aware of that. All right, so there's the P&L. All right, let's go into the capital, and I still have on the next slide more information. Ground penetrating radar. This is a system to make sure that our pipes don't get hit when people are digging around them. We have all of the vehicles that are being replaced are all replacements for existing ones. And then each year we spend approximately $300,000 on water line replacements, and we were doing Highlands Boulevard this year. Where did we do? I can't remember. Okay. All right. So we're going to have a separate presentation on the water meters because $3.6 million is no laughing matter. Okay. All right, so we have aging infrastructure. Our current water meters range from 8 to 13 years old. The normal lifespan on a water meter is 10 years. What we're experiencing is batch failures. So entire neighborhoods would have been installed all at the same time, and they're all failing. I mean, have you ever, I equated this as, I have a bunch of smoke alarms in the house. I have kids, so, you know, I get a lot of smoke alarms. Install them all at the same time, they all start beeping all at the same time. The batteries die, so kind of the same thing, the batch failures. We are averaging every month, and this is current information, it was less last year and it was less the year before, but we're averaging 312 per month failures. That's a lot. That is a whole bunch. Now note, when a meter fails, it still reads. It doesn't communicate. We can't get the detail, but we still get the information on how much water you use. We have to get it manually. It's almost like a car odometer. So I want to be clear on that. So when a meter fails, the communication part of it failed. Okay? It still counts, but we don't get as much information out of it. Okay? So I don't want people to think 360 failures, so that means that they're reading wrong. No, no. All right, customer service. So, Jim, you had a leak. Jim had a leak a couple months ago, and a contractor left a hose on, correct?
No, my bill for the last 2 years is 23, 23, 23, 33.
So, with the leak detection, you can go on and you can find out within 2 work days. We can tell you, okay, we can call you and say, we think you have a problem. Your water is running 24 hours a day. That's not normal. Normally there's no water usage in the middle of the night. You may have a problem. Maybe a hose is left on, maybe a toilet is running, something like that. So since January of 2016, there have been 188 significant customer leaks. As I said, from leaky toilets, broken pipes. Sometimes you know it, sometimes you don't. The average leak costs the customer $292. You're a little bit above the average. All right. By significantly reducing the number of days it takes to detect a leak, we anticipate the average leak cost to go from $292 to below $50. Okay? All right, so you're going to have access. So about 6 or 8 months ago, when we started doing all these reviews, they went in and installed one of these Badger systems at my house. They said, hey, we need a guinea pig. I said, okay. So they installed this app, okay? So I can see my usage, okay? I can get graphs. I can see exactly what's going on with my water. So I have two examples. Okay, so Alice and I, our washer went out, okay? And we had to back order it, and we couldn't get it for a week. The day the new one would, so we had laundry backed up, okay? The day the new one arrived and was installed, you look on the phone, boosh, the water usage went way up. You can see it exactly. That's pretty cool, okay? You can set alarms. You can go in there and say, if my water runs 24 hours a day, tell me. And it'll alert you on your phone and say, hey, you may have a problem, okay? Or if your usage is too high, it'll alert you. So you can control the amount of water. You can analyze what your usage is. Maybe you're using too much water on irrigation. Maybe you're watering your plants too much or your lawn too much. This will give you the ability to do that. Okay, instantaneous readings. If you are moving, you have a rental property, you can call up the office and say, read the meter, and they can do that. They can pull it up on the computer and go, read it, okay? But right now, you're going to have to put in a work order. They maybe get to it today. They maybe get to it tomorrow. I mean, that's decent customer service, 1 or 2 days to get it. But even better customer service when they can do it immediately. All right, data logging. Okay, the current system requires a meter reader to go by the location. They can go within about 100 yards and pick up the signal. So they have to drive. We have these guys, meter readers, that drive by, and it's a radio frequency, and they have to drive around, and they got to get within 100 yards of every single meter that's communicating. If it's not communicating, they got to pull in front, they got to get out, they got to read it manually. Okay? This one, from the office, Charlie clicks on a mouse, and it reads all 13,400. All at one time. Well, not all at one time, but very quickly. So the data log gives you data as to your usage, and you can analyze it. You can look by month, year, by day. So for me, my data log showed a significant increase in usage when my 2 college kids came home for summer. I don't know how many showers they're taking, but they're taking a lot. And they're doing a lot of laundry and everything. But you can see it, okay? You can see if you have people over, if you look at it, we had some families stay for the weekend. And if you look at the utilization for that weekend compared to the previous weekend, you'll see an increase, more people taking showers. So you can get that level of detail. All right. So currently it takes 20 to 25 calendar days to read the entire system. The new system will be done with a click of the mouse. Okay, so I talked about the leaks and why we can get it done so quickly. Because right now, let's say the meter reader drives by and picks up that you have, or picks up your water usage for the month. And the very next day, you're watering the lawn and you leave the hose running and you don't realize it. The next time they're going to come through, they're going to pull up they're going to read that meter a month from now. Then our current system is going to go, oh, you got a problem. What's going on? Okay, that's when the data comes through, once per month. And if you are unlucky, you can wait almost a month before you get it. With the new system, we can find out in 2 working days. All right, that's what did you bring show and tell for later? You did not. Well, that's what the meter looks. That's what the water meter looks like on the left, and on the right is the communicational thing. And you'll have this little thing stick out of the top of your water meter plate. Okay, it'll be relatively flush, and that's what cell technology, just like a cell phone. It'll connect and it'll transfer all that data over. All right. It doesn't show up well on this slide, but you're not the only ones that have water leaks. The POA has water leaks, okay? And when we have water leaks, they're big water leaks. And sometimes those are below subterranean, and we don't even know about it, and they're big leaks. What we'll be able to do is, how many zones do we have? 14? 17 zones. We'll be able to go in and look by zone and go, okay, for this period, and click the mouse, okay, we supplied our customers with this much water came through our system, and we billed our customers this much, so what's the difference? And we can go through, and if we find a zone has a large discrepancy, all this water came through our pipes, but we only billed this much, well, where did that water go? Then we can start using the leak detection system devices to find and localize where we have a leak. Okay? Hopefully that made some sense. All right, Charlie did his homework. He went out and got 5 proposals. It took many months to get all those proposals. We reviewed based upon cost, warranty, functionality, and references. And the water department's recommendation is you can go with the Badger water system, supply with the Beacon cellular reading system. Okay, they went up to Russellville, and they have a very similar system, and they recently installed the Badger system. There is a case study, there's a YouTube. I've already taken an hour, 20 minutes, and this is a 10-minute video, so if you're interested, this entire presentation will be posted tomorrow. Go online, click on the link, and you can watch the whole thing. It's very informative, but it's a really good case study to show how much work they did, how much, they wanted to make sure that they were comparing and understanding what they were getting themselves into, and they went to a utility that has a very similar customer base. Okay? All right. So the budget and the fee changes will not be approved or proposed and will not be approved by the board until next week. A week from today, it'll be here in Reardon. The board meeting starts at 6:30, and they will consider the budget and they will vote on it. All right, questions?
We'll get to questions in just a moment. I just want to say that how much the board appreciates all the efforts of Tom and all of the management in putting together the budget for the coming year and what we've done the last couple of years. When we, I guess it was 2.5 years ago when we recruited Tom here, we felt like there were efficiencies in our budget. And in fact, we've seen over the last couple of years between cost savings and various efficiencies, many hundreds of thousands of dollars, as well as now you see how much we've enhanced our collections, how much we've enhanced in the sale of lots, and those are many, many hundreds of thousands of dollars that pass, that we don't see, but pass directly through to providing the best possible amenities for us and our community here. So we appreciate that very much. We know that doesn't happen just by accident with what is essentially a $20 million, more than $20 million a year annual budget. It takes a great deal of management skill and financial skill to do that sort of thing, and we do appreciate it very much. We also, as a board, have made some decisions over the last couple of years to spend some of our strategic reserves to get Lake Point open again and all the other things that you're seeing to improve our community for all of us. And the big thing going now is, of course, the Valley. I can assure you we're working very hard to try to find the best possible answers to make that as attractive as it can possibly be and financially feasible. So we're working very, very hard on that. So anyway, just an appreciation for all the effort you're doing to make this the really great community that we all appreciate. So, questions?
Tennis operations goes into rec. Now, I'm going to play off of that. So the budget you have is the summary budget for each department. This is my budget, okay? So every single department has a sub-department. Okay, every large department. So with golf, okay, you're going to have a department for Dogwood, Brittany, Scottsdale, so forth. For rec, you're going to have the tennis courts, you're going to have Branchwood, Reardon, and so forth. So we break it out individually, but it all goes into rec. Yes, we're proposing that we spend $150,000 on doing a post-tension system on 4 courts. Yes, here. Yes. Did I answer your question? Okay. Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm going to post this entire packet tomorrow. That one-page thing, I can. I was just going to post this, but what I could do is consolidate all the changes into 1 or 2 sheets and post that separately.
Well, I mean, if you want to come to the board meeting and discuss something, it would be nice to have that prior to.
Okay. I will post all the fee changes. I will consolidate them all into one document, and we'll have that posted tomorrow. Is it reasonable?
Yeah.
Okay.
On the water meter.
Yes.
Okay, when I built, I was charged $7,500 for a water.
Okay.
That was being replaced.
Part of that was, a large portion of that was a tap fee. A fee to tap into the system, you were charged, and
All the water meters, so that's.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, you know, you got to tap into the system, connect to the system. Was that accurate? Okay.
Do what? How much was the head of the water meter, whatever the guy drives around finding out how much water I use?
Sure. The water meter itself alone costs $207. But it's one of the smaller costs we have in installing a water tap.
Anybody else would like to have another question? All right. I'd like you to go back to the golf fee thing. What is the primary monthly and the primary annual?
So do you have an AGGF membership?
Yes.
Okay. Do you pay monthly or annually?
I pay annual.
Okay. Are you the only member on your account, or does your spouse
My spouse is
doesn't play?
leading up to this question
Okay, so you're a primary annual.
and a secondary annual.
Correct.
And then I have the cartilage. That's not. My question is this, why is there a difference between annual and monthly? And the reason I ask the question is this, and I came to the board about 2 or 3 years ago and asked the question. It's a 12-cent transaction to run it through the Federal Reserve System. To do a monthly thing, you already do my water, you already do my assessment. So if I wanted to do monthly golf, why am I paying, what, $10 or $12 a month charge for that? There's no way in hell it can be justified. It's less work sitting down into the paper and putting in, I want $160 for
Actually, on a monthly, it takes more. A transaction, no, let me speak. A monthly transaction actually is touched by 3 different areas to ensure that it's being done correctly. And it's done on a monthly basis. And we're giving a benefit to people that pay in advance.
So then why don't you charge, if you're really out to screw people and to make money, that's the only way, or recoup costs, however you want to say it, then you should be charging everybody for the assessment per month. My water bill per month, you don't charge me for any of that. Now, when you do the water bill, you have to go in to the software or whatever it is and put down exactly what my thing is. Or the computer is talking to the computer who is talking to another computer. I pay annually, so it's not a big deal. I just think it is unconscionable to charge somebody so much money for a nickel dime fee. That's my own thought on that process, and I had the numbers when it came to the board the last time. I think then if you're going to charge for one, charge for them all. And the number on the monthly bill, as I understood, is a small number.
Well, the reality is there is an added fee by running it monthly. Whether you wish to believe me or not, there is an added fee, added cost, added labor when you do it monthly.
I'd like to ask the accounting guy.
Sure.
Don't you just go into the, we were told when we had the software update, what, 2 years ago? That one of the reasons that we were buying it was so that you didn't have to go in there and do all this review. You would go in, do what you had to do, and go into my record or whatever you want to call it and say, okay, he's going to pay $160 for 12 months. You put it in there, move on.
If it was as simple as that, that would probably be right, but a lot of times somebody will change bank accounts. We might have an insufficient fund, so there is a lot of handling on the monthly charges because there could be other people involved just besides that. But if you'll rethink the way you're talking about it, it's not that we're charging you extra per month. We're giving the discount to the people that pay up front. We're charging a flat fee of what it really should be per month, but if you pay in advance, we give the discount. So if you think about it that way, that's reversed.
I'll accept that. I don't agree with it. Last question.
How about this? I want to make sure that other people can ask.
If they want to talk, fine.
Hold on. Give me a couple minutes. So if you have an annual cart and you are, your cart breaks down for a short period or something like that, that's how it is right now. So if you can't use your cart for whatever reason, maybe your spouse is playing golf at another golf course or something like that, and use one of ours. Yes. As long, the only exception is we had a large number of, I'm going to use the term ghost carts, that people were claiming that they had a private cart when they actually didn't, and it was coincidentally always under repair. But yes, you can go to another golf course and use one of ours. let's, Kim, why don't you write that down and make sure we cover that in? I'll cover it. You had a question. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, a couple things. We're going to form a commission to look at what our needs are, what our reserves are, so forth, and determine that. So for me to answer that question as to how much at this time would be invalid. Why do I think that it's going to work this next time? We got within 27 votes of it working last time. You know, there was 19,000 votes cast and we lost by 27. So give it another try. I mean, the reality is, you know, yeah. Oh, sure.
Okay, Rick, and let me just add a little bit more, I guess. We've, certainly the board that's been in, and I think a great number of people have felt like we really have to rejuvenate the community to some extent. We can't have things like Lake Point just sitting empty and things getting old and worn, just everything is sort of dying. So we've really worked very hard to find a way to rejuvenate this and keep Bella Vista attractive long into the future. So we put forth something that showed specific things we were going to do within all this going far into the future, and it, you know, actually got the majority, but it said you have to have 51%, so we failed by 27. Okay, we've still taken what we had. We're committed to that, to doing this rejuvenation, and done everything that we can, and continue to do everything we can with the most important things we thought, and then going on forward. The other thing, of course, we have now is the Valley. We're going to know an awful lot more about that by the middle of the year. So I think the way you go about this, and the people can decide, by the middle of the year, we'll know a lot more about what we can get done, what we can't get done because of the lack of money, what can be done with an assessment, be able to paint a very clear picture to people and say, with the assessment, this is what will happen, and without it, this will not happen. And people can make a choice, and we'll live with that and do the best we can. It's the best answer I could give.
Let me make one more comment. If you recall, when the assessment vote was taken, it was just at about the time that Scottsdale opened, and I remember a person coming up to me and saying, they came to me at the grand opening of Scottsdale and said, if I knew you were going to do this, I would have voted yes. Okay. Well, what has occurred since then, what Ron talked about, is what, you know, the proof in the pudding. We've done Scottsdale, Lake Point, the country club's going to open up soon, Branchwood. So I think we've hopefully proven that we're spending the money wisely and that we're rejuvenating. So is that worth 27 votes? I hope. Okay, good idea. Mm-hmm. Well, welcome. It's for the question for people that can't hear because on streaming, the question is about the bow hunting and what happened. So we kind of are in a quandary as to whether we should release the information or not, because it may influence what happens next year when we go out to bid. But it was $2,500 bucks, which is enough to pay for all the property taxes and then some. And we leased that, and we leased it also for the hay. Yeah. Another question. Yes, sir.
When I went on the tour before it opened, I asked a question because of the wine bar and being able to rent or take it over, or however you want to say that that was going to be posted on a calendar somewhere. And I have not been able to find that. And the reason I ask that is, my wife and our golf people thought we had it going over there, called maybe 12 people. And then ultimately it was rented or something, and then we were moved out into the open area or whatever. Now I noticed, I was at Lake Point the other day, that as you walk in on one of those placards of something that says that the hours are such and such, and then on the bottom it says, unless rented out. Now, how in the hell are you gonna know it's rented out until you get there? That's my question.
Good point. Very good point. Maybe we need to go and make sure that we post that information on Facebook and get that on the website. There you go.
Okay, so now up until this is worked out, you're not gonna put it on your Lake Point website? I don't go into Facebook, so I don't do.
Okay. But you choose to not go, and so if we post it and you choose not
That's
to.
why I asked, was it gonna be on the Lake Point website, and the answer was yes.
Yes.
I took the proof.
Yes. Yes. All right, how about we've had you guys here for an hour and 40 minutes. Any last question? Thank you all for your attention. I appreciate it.